In a land not so far away, the sound of meta players rambling and fangirls squealing can be heard all over the world. What causes these reactions, you ask? Well, none other than Sword Boys! Yes, title booster Touken Ranbu Online is finally released in English, and this is the first of its kind, which is a title booster, which is basically, I guess, means that it's just taking a set from a game. So Touken Ranbu is a game much like Kantai Collection, if you know that, where all these guys that you see on the cards are actually different swords. I have not played Touken Ranbu myself, but I know quite a few friends that do, but I'm not sure if I'll ever pick it up because I haven't even picked up Kantai Collection, so there's that. So a little bit of background on the Touken Ranbu set. It has 1 GR, 5 different triple rares, 8 different double rares, 11 rares, and 17 commons, and has 5 different SPs, which are all signed by the voice actors of each of these Sword Boys. So, the Touken Ranbu clan has 2 different keywords. One is Shinken Hisatsu, and the other one is Homare. Each pack of Touken Ranbu Online contains 7 cards, 2 of them being R or greater, and each box contains 12 packs. So that's the kind of a little background. This set, for some reason, is not really doing too well in English, I'm seeing, because sometimes I see people on Facebook asking for advice on how to build a deck or play the deck and stuff like that, and they just get told, play a better clan. So I don't really think that's the case. I think Touken Ranbu is really strong, it needs to be given a chance. So with this set breakdown, just like usual, we're going to go over all the cards. I'll tell you some of the combos, but I haven't playtested Touken Ranbu that much, so I don't know them that well. So if you know more Touken Ranbu combos, please do comment them and let everybody else know. So, let's get right into it. So the 2 different keywords, Homare and Shinken Hisatsu, well, basically, Homare means that once you pay the cost for a Homare ability, you cannot use any other Homare abilities that turn. So let's say if you use Hotaru Maru, then you will not be able to use any other card that has Homare, like you won't be able to use the Homare skill of any other card during that turn. So Homare is like a once per turn keyword. Now Shinken Hisatsu is a lot easier because it simply means limit break 3. It's an ability that activates when you're at 3 damage or more, and that's all it is. So basically, when you're 3 damage or more, Shinken Hisatsu activates, and it activates for as many Shinken Hisatsu as you have, so it's not restricted to just one card like Homare is. So I'll be mainly splitting this breakdown by the 2 different mechanics. But first of all, I'll be looking at the GR, which is good in any of the Touken Ranbu decks, and you can put it in any other G zones, which is Mikazuki Munechika. Let's do this. So his skill is once per turn, it's an act. You counterblast 1 and choose a face down G unit from your G zone and turn it face up. So you can put any G unit face up. And he gets plus 3k for each of your face-up G units until end of turn. And then for every 2 face-up cards in your G zone, you can retire a front row rear guard. And then, if the number of face-up cards in your G zone is 2 or more, he gets an additional critical. So basically, when you have 2 face-up G units, you retire 1 front row. When you have 4 face-up G units, then you retire 2 front rows, which is already good. And then the plus 3 buff also stacks, so if you have 4 face-up G units, then he gets a plus 12k buff, but the critical does not stack, sadly, so... But he's really good, like, just all around. Like, he retires, he powers up, and he gets a crit. That's, like, all the good things in Vanguard, except for restanding, so... He's a really nice card, I do like Mikazuki Munechika. So, our second stride, Hotaru Maru, he's also a second triple rare. He has Homare, so if you use his ability, you cannot use any other Homares that turn. And basically, you G-Persona flip a Hotaru Maru, and you rest 5 of your rear guards. And when this unit's attack hits a Vanguard, you can pay that cost, and if you do, you stun this unit, and he gets drive -2. He's basically like a Commander Laurel, where you have to hit and rest all your units, but you also have to flip a G unit face up. But the fact that he loses the 2 drive checks does hurt him, so in that way Laurel is better. But he's basically a slightly worse Laurel, but, you know, he still has to hit, so... It's a bit of a gamble to stride him, but he is pretty good. I do like Hotaru Maru, but like if you stride him and your opponent perfect guards him, then like if you only have 2 in your G zone, then the second one's kind of useless. He's just kind of there as a vanilla stride. So he's alright. Hotaru Maru is pretty alright. Moving on to another of the Homare cards. This is a grade 3 and it's also our 3rd triple rare that I'm going to go over, which is Tsurumaru Kuninaga. His first skill is a Homare, and it's Soul Blast 1. When this unit's attack hits a Vanguard, you pay the cost. If you do, you countercharge 1, and you choose a grade 3 from your drop zone and return it to your hand. This is pretty good because on hit, basically Soul Blast 1 to flip 1 and get a grade 3 back from your drop zone so you can stride again. His second skill is to do with stride. Basically, when you stride on top of him, you soul charge 1 and choose 2 of your units and give them plus 3k power until end of turn. This is very good because Touken Ranbu likes to buff their field a lot, and there are some cards that are very powerful but lack power, and giving them this power boost really helps them out. So I do like Tsurumaru Kuninaga a lot as one of the main grade 3s for the Touken Ranbu deck. Another triple rare is Uguisu Maru. Also, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing these wrong. I'd never played Touken Ranbu, like I said, so I'm just gonna do my best. So he's a Shinken Hisatsu. Basically, during your turn when he's on the Vanguard circle, all your rear guards with the Shinken Hisatsu ability get plus 2000 power. This is really good because you can all easily have a field full of Shinken Hisatsu, and then suddenly, like, you just deploy this huge ass buff of plus 2k to everyone. And his second ability is when his drive check reveals a grade 1 or greater with Shinken Hisatsu ability. So basically, when you drive check anything that isn't a trigger and has Shinken Hisatsu, he gets plus 5000 until end of that battle. This kind of reminds me of like the old school card like Goku, which actually have abilities like on drive checks. And it's also a bit similar to Ethics Buster Extreme, except instead of standing a rear guard, he gets plus 5k. So it's pretty good because you can, like, if your opponent 2 passes you can get a trigger and a grade 1 or greater with Shinken Hisatsu, and then suddenly you're passing through. Another Homare grade 3 triple rare is Kogetsune Maru. So his Homare ability is when he hits a Vanguard, you Soul Blast 1. If you do, look at one card from the top of your deck, put it on top or bottom of your deck, and draw a card. So it's kind of like CEO Amaterasu, except you have to hit, and you have to Soul Blast. So it's not as good, but you know, he does have a second skill to make up for that. So when your rear guard with a Homare ability attacks a Vanguard, you can counter blast 1. If you do, the unit gets plus 2000 until end of that battle. He's not super good, but if you're making a only Homare deck, then he could be pretty good. But it's a shame because every time your Homare rearguard attacks, you would have to counterblast 1, so you really use up your counterblast really fast, so you do need the flippers, but he's an okay grade 3 and he does look really nice, so it's alright. And our final grade 3 is Ichigo Hitofuri. He is also a Shinken Hisatsu, whose Shinken Hisatsu is active on both Vanguard and rearguard, and basically, when this unit attacks a Vanguard, you counterblast 1 and you Soul Blast 1, and then he gets plus 4000 for each of your rearguards with Toshiro in his card name until end of that battle, and I will go over the Toshiros a bit later. Moving on to the double rares, we have Iwatoshi. So he's also a stride, and he's basically a Vermilion. He has an act skill, which is once per turn. You counterblast 1 and Persona Flip Iwatoshi, and then until end of turn, he battles all of your opponent's units in the front row in one attack. So it's exactly like Vermilion, except only counterblast 1, but it's a G Persona. So it is pretty good. I do like Iwatoshi, I think he's pretty damn strong, and I think he's a good unit in pretty much every Touken Ranbu deck. So another of the Shinken Hisatsu grade 3s is Ishikiri Maru, and his Shinken Hisatsu is active on the Vanguard, and basically when he attacks a Vanguard, you can counterblast 1 to give him plus 15k until end of that battle. So he attacks for 26 for 1 counterblast. It's strong. He's a pretty good backup. I think he could, like, considering these swings for stride numbers just for 1 counterblast, it's pretty good. However, his other skill says that if you have a rearguard in the front row that is standing, this unit cannot attack, so you're forced to always attack with the rearguards first and then attack with him, which does limit and hinder your plays, so I don't like him as much. However, we do have Tonbokiri. I am one of the great spears. So, he is also a Shinken Hisatsu, and he's much better in my opinion. When he is attacked, so not when he's attacking, but when he is attacked, you can counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1, and he gets plus 2000 until end of turn. So he's kind of like a Gavrail, except he costs, and he doesn't, like, you can stack that ability as well, so every time you get attacked, you can counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1 to buff him up a bit. And his other skill is also really nice. Basically, when he attacks a Vanguard until end of that battle, your opponent cannot call grade 0 cards from hand to Guardian Circle. So it's basically a silent Tom every time he attacks, which can get really annoying. Another of the double rare strides is Tarotachi. Basically, during your turn, all your rearguards with the Shinken Hisatsu ability in the front row get plus 3k power. This is already good, so let's just keep it at that, it's already good. And then if you have a hard card with Jirotachi in his card name, he gets another plus 5k, but I don't see that as important as the first part of his ability, which is just a nice plus 3k buff. I think it's honestly pretty damn good. Now, moving on to honestly one of the best cards in Touken Ranbu, in my opinion, which is Shisho. So he's a 7k grade 2, which is not the best thing ever. But his Shinken Hisatsu is like super amazing. Basically, when he attacks a Vanguard, you can combo +1 and soul +1 and discard a card from your hand. If you do, you draw 2 cards. This is really good because his 7k power is not that bad because you can buff him up with like so many things. And like just the fact like he's in the main on steroids basically because he can be buffed and he can easily attack for 10k instead of the 7. And his second skill says that he cannot be chosen by the effects of your opponent's cards. So it's kind of like resist, but I think like even effects that are like AoE like Blaster Joker don't affect him. So I think he's actually immune to everything. So Shisho is really good. A grade 2 that I see in a lot of Shinken Hisatsu decks is Izumi no Kami Kanesada. So I feel good about pronouncing that one. So his Shinken Hisatsu says when he is boosted, you can soul +1. If you don't enter the battle, he gains plus 3k, so he's a 12k attacker. And at the end of the battle that this unit attacked, choose one of your units with a Shinken Hisatsu ability in the back row and return it to hand. This is really good. This ability is like super good. The bouncing, I'll show you why it's good later on, but just keep it in mind. This guy, he's really good in in all Shinken Hisatsu decks, so he's really awesome. And honestly, the double rares are seeming to be better than the triple rares in Touken Ranbu right now. But anyway, the last one is of course the double rare crit trigger, which is Shokudaikiri Mitsutada. So his skill is when your Vanguard attacks, if this unit is standing, you can put him in the soul. If you do, you draw a card and you choose 2 units in your front row and they get plus 3k power. This is really good because you trade his 4000 boost into 2 units getting plus 3k power, and you also draw a card and you get a soul, and you do soul blast on the deck. So this is a really good crit trigger that I would always play a 4 of. So now looking at the rares, we have Jirotachi, which is the one that combos with the stride that we went over just now. And his Shinken Hisatsu is on rearguard circle, and basically during your turn, if you have a grade 4 or greater Vanguard, this unit gets plus 2k. Underwhelming, obviously. It is an underwhelming skill, and he's R for a reason. And then his other skill is, while you're paying the cost for stride, if the G unit you stride has Tarotachi in its name, then the cards in your hand get grade plus 2. So basically, all cards in your hand become, well, from grade 2 to grade 5, you know what I mean. So basically you can pay stride with anything except for grade 0s. Like with grade 0s, you still have to combo it with another card. So it's pretty good. Jirotachi is alright, but he's not super amazing. I think I would avoid him actually. A really nice grade 2 for Shinken Hisatsu is Dodanuki Masakuni. Basically, his Shinken Hisatsu is active on both Vanguard and Rearguard. So when he attacks a Vanguard, this unit gets plus 3000 till the end of that battle. This is just a 12k attacker, but it's also active on Vanguard Circle, so that means it can also be a 12k attacker while you ride him. So technically you could just sit on grade 2 for a little while if you feel comfortable with it, because your deck is not restricted to Generation Break. Now looking at the rares for Homare, first we have Nakegitsune, which is a grade 2 with the Homare ability. When this unit's attack hits a Vanguard, you can count +1 and soul +1. If you do, draw a card, choose a card from your hand and call it to rearguard circle. This is pretty good because it can open up like other plays, it can give you extra attacks, you can draw into that miracle card that you needed. It's alright, but because it's Homare, it's not that good because you need to hit. But it's alright, it's not bad. Next up, we have Otegine, which when this unit attacks hits a Vanguard, you count +1. If you do it until end of turn, your opponent can all call grade 0 cards from hand to Guardian Circle. If this was Shinken Hisatsu, it would be really strong. But because it has to hit and he only has 8k power, chances are he's never gonna hit. So that permanent Silent Tom effect is not gonna be going off anytime soon, I think. The stride helper for Touken Ranbu is Ima no Tsurugi. Basically, its second skill is the stride helper skill, but the other one is quite interesting, as when you choose one of your grade 4 greater units, so your stride, and by putting this card in the soul, you give that unit plus 5000 and a Homare ability, which basically allows it to countercharge 2 when you hit with it for the cost of Soul Blast 1. I'm sorry if I made that a bit confusing, but you can see the card on your screen so you can read it for yourselves and see what I'm talking about. There's a lot of choice for forerunners in Touken Ranbu, and one of the better ones in my opinion is Kashu Kiyomitsu. And basically, when he boosts, you can Soul Blast. When he boosts, and there are no face-up cards in your damage zone, so everything is flip face down, you can Soul Blast 1. If you do, you countercharge 1, and until the end of that battle, this unit gets plus 3000, so he's an AK booster. And when your unit's attack hits a Vanguard, you draw a card and put this unit into your soul. So like any unit, when any unit hits a Vanguard, that's a really good skill. So sadly, as right after it goes off, it goes into the soul, and then you can't use that skill anymore. But it is a pretty good starter, and I do like this guy pretty much. Another starter just for Shingen Isatsu is Kasen Kanesada, and basically you put him in the soul and you give to a unit 2 Shingen Isatsu units plus 3000 power. So it's easy buffs basically. That's all it is. It's like the Jewel Knight starter from way back in BT10. Hashisuka Kotetsu, basically you put him in the soul, discard a card, and draw a card. So we've seen this done before, it's nothing too special. Matsunokami Yoshiyuki is another interesting starter, which is for Shingen Isatsu, and basically during your turn, if you have no other units in the same column as this unit, he gets plus 6000 power. So you call him to the side, and then you don't call anything else, and he's 11k. So basically if you're at 3 damage, and you're just sitting there great stock or something, you can just like attack with an 11k grade 0. So he's also interesting, he's an interesting starter choice for Shingen Isatsu, but you know, I'm not sure if he's a superior one. Another one is Yamanbagiri Kunihiro, which is when he boosts a unit with Homare, you can count plus 1. If you do until the end of that battle, the unit gets plus 3k, and you put this starter in the soul, and at the end of the battle that he boosted, you put him in the soul, and you choose one of your units, and he gets plus 5000 power until end of turn. This is pretty good in Homare because they do need some stuff that, like, isn't Homare, because all of their skills are just Homare, 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 and you can only do them once per turn, so it's good to have stuff like this as well. Now, looking at the common cards, we're going to start with some Homare, and Yamabushi Kunihiro is a 10k grade 3, which is not the best thing, but his effects are only active on the rear guard circle anyway. So his first ability is Homare. When he hits, you put him on the bottom of your deck, and then you can draw a card and countercharge 2. Pretty good countercharging engine, but you know, it's on hit, so it's not that amazing, but it's alright. Another skill of his is during your turn, if you have another unit in the same column as this unit, he gets plus 1k. And then if you have a grade 0 unit in the same column as this unit, he gets plus 2k. Sadly, it's only on your turn, so it's not like you can really use this to your defense on your opponent's turn. So this guy is not so great. However, we have Hishikiri Hasebe, which is also a Homare. When he hits, you can plus 1 and stand him, and he gets plus 2k. And then this unit cannot attack the Vanguard on his second attack, but can instead attack an opponent's unit in the back row. So while you cannot attack the Vanguard on after he stands, you could hit those precious boosters with an 11k attack, which like on a starter is, you know, is gonna force a 10k shield. So he's pretty good. I do like this guy. In a Homare deck, he can be pretty damn good. Moving on to another Shingen Hisatsu is Yamato no Kami Yasusada. And basically, Shingen Hisatsu can plus 1 and he gets plus 2k and a Homare ability. So this fuses the two different mechanics into one. So for Kama's 1 as a Shingen Hisatsu gets plus 2k and the Homare ability, which is when he hits, you discard a card and then you can draw 2 cards. So he's okay. He's really alright if you want to play budget Touken Ranbu, but when you have cards like Shisho, I would not, because this just makes it so that Kama's want to get a plus 2k just to get a plus 2k boost, and then you get perfect guarded and you don't get anything out of that Kama's 1. Instead, you can Kama's 1 and Soul Blast 1 and discard 1 to draw 2 cards. And then, sure, it's a 7k, but you can buff it with like everything in the damn deck, so I don't see why you would play this over Shisho. A pretty good grade 1 for Shingen Hisatsu is Nikari Aoi. And basically, when you grade 3 or less Vanguard attacks, you can put him in the soul, and then if you have 3 more rear guards that are rested, you can pay the cost of putting into them soul. Sorry, I messed that up a little bit. But anyway, then you choose one of your Vanguards, and he gets power plus 10k until the end of that battle. So remember that guy that for Kama's 1 Shingen Hisatsu gains 15k? You could give him another 10k if you want, but I think you could use this ability for a lot of other Shingen Hisatsu Vanguards, but also this is not restricted to Shingen Hisatsu. So you could give it to Homare Vanguard as well to give it a plus 10k boost. It just has to be grade 3 or less, so you cannot use it on a stride unit. One of the best grade 1s for Touken Ranbu and, well, Shingen Hisatsu is Horikawa Kunihiro. Basically, Shingen Hisatsu, Counterblast 1. When he's called, you Counterblast 1. If you do, you Soul Charge 1 and he gets plus 4k until end of turn. Okay, so, you see this guy? Now let's compare him with Izumi no Kami Kanesada. Kanesada puts back a Shingen Hisatsu, right? But then you can call out Horikawa Kunihiro and use his ability, and then with Kanesada's ability, you can bounce him back to hand, so you can use Kunihiro's ability yet again. And then, if you're playing a hybrid deck with Homare, you could use Nagikitsune to call, let's say if you hit with Nagikitsune, to call out Horikawa Kunihiro yet again and use his ability yet again to make him an 11k attacker or booster, depending if you have other attacks left, like if you got a stand trigger or something. So, but even then, you could just call him out, Soul Charge 1, and attack with 11k, like with Shingen Hisatsu. So there are some combos with this card, and I really do like this grade 1. I think he's one of the better ones in Touken Ranbu. And he combos really well with that grade 2. He can be bouncing, you can reuse his ability all the time. Like, on paper, it doesn't look that good, because on call, Counterblast 1 to Soul Charge 1 plus 4k, that looks like trash. But if you can bounce him and use his ability every turn, along with all the different, like, unflipping abilities that you have, or counter charge, I should say, he's really, really good. Moving on to some of our final grade 1s, we have Namazua Toshiro and Honebami Toshiro. So, Namazua Toshiro, when he boosts Ichigo Hitofuri, then that boosted unit gets plus 3k until the end of that battle. And then during your turn, if you have a rearguard with Honebami Toshiro in its card name, he gets plus 2k. So if you have Honebami Toshiro, the other grade 1, he's already an 8k booster. And then when he boosts Ichigo Hitofuri, then he's an 11k booster. So he's alright in that specific deck. And it could work quite well because Ichigo Hitofuri gains plus 4000 power for each Toshiro. So if you have like 3 Toshiros, he gets plus 12k, and this is on both Rearguard and Vanguard. And then the 2 different Toshiros can really boost up his power. So it could be a pretty good deck idea, but it does need some testing. Now Honebami Toshiro, the other Toshiro, he has the second skill, which is the same as the other Toshiro, where he gets plus 2k. But when he boosts a Vanguard, you may do Soul Blast 1, and if you do, you draw a card and discard 1. So it's a good way to kind of filter. It's pretty interesting. Like, I could see him used just for the filter skill, like Airmo used to be used, and their arts are pretty cool, but I don't really know much about lore or the background of this game, so that's all I can really say about it. And if that's not enough, you also have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different Toshiro triggers. So you could call those, there's 2 different draw triggers that you can call, but there's also stand triggers and stuff, but they're not that good. But you know, if you do want to really make this Toshiro deck work, then you could use that. Final card we're going to get into is the stand trigger Aizen Kunitoshi. This stand trigger is like balls good. He's super good. Basically, when your Vanguard attacks, if he's in your back row, you stand him. And then if you have a grade 4 or greater Vanguard with Homare, then you choose another one of your rearguards in the same column as him and stand that as well. So basically, when you stride and you attack with one column with this guy in there, and then you attack with your Homare Vanguard, you just stand an entire column. So you get a free attack with this stand trigger. It is so good. So you could go with a crit-centric build, or you can, you know, use this stand and make more pressure and have standing columns forever. So it is pretty damn good. I do like the stand trigger, and honestly, a lot of Touken Ranbu is really good, and I hope that people do give a chance to this new clan, I guess we'll have to call it. And yeah, honestly, Touken Ranbu is good. There's a lot of combos you can do, there's a lot of power, lots of draw power, and it's generally a very interesting clan. And especially if you're a fan of the games, then it's even better for you. So, to close off, I hope you guys, like I said, do give a chance to Touken Ranbu. It's a pretty good set, honestly, and I don't think it's that bad. Sure, we're probably only going to see support like once a year, but there are new sword boys being added every, I think, few expansions or something in the game. I'm not sure, but I have friends telling me that there's new characters being added all the time, so chances are once enough are added, we're going to have new cards printed, and we're going to have another Touken Ranbu set. Maybe we'll have another title booster, but for now, enjoy your sword boy!